No one sleeps when I'm on, tell you that. Hi, everybody, I'm Russ Kane. This is the Daily Show exclusive on Men's Radio Station. Remember, MRS is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Always on. And if you want to give it a try to our sister station, it's Women's Radio Station. Again, exactly the same deal, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know him. You love him. Ladies and gentlemen, the king of New Malden comedy, Mr. Neil Longy Long.
Hello. What a weekend. I went to a comedy show, got invited to one Friday night, and there was some fantastic comedians on there. Ian Stone, do you know him? Know that name?
Right. I don't.
Very, very good. He's been in the business for ages. And a couple of new ones as well who are fantastic. Saturday, I did a gig in a restaurant. And then Sunday...
You mean you were a waiter? You were a waiter in a restaurant?
No.
Oh,
I just play the music when they stop eating and get the place going absolutely ballistic for the last half hour or so. And then Sunday, we did a fundraiser for the Little Princess Trust. My friend Emily, DJ Spin'em Decks. And she wanted £550, and we got... last total, as I checked on Just Giving, it's over 700 right now. So it was an amazing online event. Did that? Yeah, she did, and she ran the room. It was spare her blushes. It was the very first time she'd been up front running her own room because she'd been sort of learning from me.
What do you mean runs the? I don't know what you mean.
Well, basically do an online fundraiser. So basically be online and DJ at the same time and broadcast it on Mixcloud. And then Sunday night I did some stand up myself. So I've had a bit of a busy weekend. It was fun.
Blimey, well, bless you for being here this morning, Julie Voice.
Well, it's lovely to be here. Afternoon, everyone, says Julie Voice. Just spent a fun-packed morning in the MRI scanner. Deep joy.
Christ.
Oh, no, I was in one of those. And I moved, and the girl took me out, and she went, "Will you not move?" I'm like, "What are we done?" "No, we're not. You're going to have to go back in again." I'm like, "Oh, really?" Anyway.
I'm not wearing pink. No, this top didn't get ruined. Thank you. What's going on with Kimmy Lashmar, Neil?
Well, she's off sick with a stinking cold. Oh, Kimmy went on a break Scotland first time, flying since BC, which I assume means before COVID. Played the bagpipes again. Not had a cold.
I will. Go on. Keep going. Keep going.
Went on a break to Scotland first time since BC. Not had a cold in all 3 years. Fly, then boom, shitty cold. There you go.
Hey, that's what happens when you go north of the border, Dildy.
Right, up the Trossachs.
Nonetheless, yes, it was a fantastic weekend, says John Yates.
Yes, he was involved, actually. He was part of the group that got involved in all of that. Oh, and Karen Shortland. That's one thing I forgot to say. And we also celebrated Karen's birthday over the weekend. Just had a fab but crazy weekend. Half of it spent with me at comedy gigs and the fundraiser yesterday as well. Boom. Karen, happy birthday. I hope you were thoroughly spoilt, my lovely.
Yeah, well, there we go. Loving the bagpipes, yes. And then we've got into New York City. Yeah, good morning from the New York sun shining. Which is New York. Should we bring on our first guest who's
in? Do you want to hear my New York joke before we bring on our guest? It's the only joke
then I'll tell you something that happened. Keith, please sit down because otherwise we can't take you because you're up and down like a yo-yo at the moment, fella.
So this is the only joke about New York that I know. So I went up to this New Yorker man who had a big stain down the front of his shirt. And I said, "Your shirt is soiled." And he went, "Soiled? Only boited this morning."
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the why. He is the king of comedy for New Malden. Right, you've gone all pink. Yes. If you look at my Facebook page, you will understand the pink references. And Karen is saying thank you. Right, let's bring on our first guest of the week, although he's going to have to move his camera slightly because at the moment I've just got a chest and a chin. Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Mason. There he is.
Welcome to the show, dude.
How you doing, guys? You all right?
Yeah, we're good, thank you. Hi, Keith.
That's Mr. Dude to you. There we are. Right, you tell us all about yourself, Keith, and welcome. Is there any way you could turn your camera landscape and not portrait, please?
Yeah.
Because that's the way we like it. I'm gonna. No, that's absolutely terrible, and that's terrible as well.
No, I'm on a night. Yeah, that's the only way.
Do.
Oh, well, that'll have to do. It's not great, but that'll have to do. Right, Keith, tell us about you. Tell us about yourself.
I'm a former professional rugby league player. I had a 14-year career. Played in Australia. Played for St Helens, Huddersfield Giants. Castleford Tigers, Wakeford Trinity, played for Great Britain, and played 2 games for Wales, actually, yeah. So
Wow.
Yeah, and then I went from going from rugby league into a fate meeting with a guy called Mickey Rourke, and Mickey cast me in a movie called Skin Traffic around 10 years ago.
Mickey Rourke.
Yeah,
Mickey Rourke. Hang on. So you had a meeting with Mickey Rourke?
As you do.
Was he at Keith? Keith, was he on this planet?
He's actually he's very misconceived. Like as a person, he's not really a party animal. People think he goes out and he's wild and stuff. Listen, he's a bit out there as a man, but he helped me out all those years ago. He give me an opportunity and put me in a film. He always said it was going to be tough for me if I went down that field, and it took me 10 years to get a lead role in a film that I produced, which is Imperative, which will be getting released worldwide this year. So
let's wind it back a bit, Keith. How on earth did you get ending up to meet Mickey Rourke? I'm just curious how that sort of thing happens.
We were playing for the Field Giants back in 2009, and we got to a Challenge Cup final. We played at Wembley.
Right.
Which was a boyhood dream of mine. Obviously growing up watching all the Wembley finals back in the 90s when Wigan get, I think they won about 8 Challenge Cups on the trot.
Right.
But it was always a dream of mine to, playing a Challenge Cup is so prestigious, and the fact that we got to play at Wembley for Huddersfield Giants against Wellington. Now, what happened after the game? A few of the boys we got invited to Stringfellas by a guy called Christy Wellen, who was actually the guy who writ Chariots of Fire. It's his son, the guy who got the Oscar.
Oh, Colin Welland. Welland, who managed to stand up and embarrass everybody saying the British are coming, That was the end of the British push in Hollywood because they don't like that sort of thing. Yep.
So,
remember him? He used to be in Z Cars, by the way, when I was a kid. Colin Welland.
We got invited to Stringfellas, and back in 2009, like a few of the players went there, and I remember it was back in 2009. I just watched the wrestler with Mickey in it, and obviously it was Mickey's comeback. He won the BAFTA and the
yes,
well.
I remember that. I remember that
good
comeback film.
Yeah, it was a good film.
Yeah, brilliant film, and I just thought, what a brilliant performance. And he actually walked into the nightclub. It was his comeback year. He walked into the bar, and I said to my friend there, "Goes, that's Mickey Rourke," and and he's like, "Ooh."
How did you recognise him?
Yeah,
one of the questions, I think.
I just basically I introduced myself to him, and we became friends. He gave me his number. He invited me to the GQ Awards 2 weeks later. I'm partying with Jason Statham and Mickey Rourke. And then he just, we became friends. He flew me out to New York. First time I went to see him, went to stay at his house in New York, and then he flew me out.
How does that work?
Yeah, God knows.
Jeez. Okay, well, that's a lucky break.
Yeah, maybe intervention, right? And I can't. But we became friends anyway. I went over to Los Angeles a few times, and then I remember one time he just gave me a call. He said, "Look, Keith, do you want to be in a movie?" And I'll play.
Went, well, if I must.
Yeah. I'll play for Castleford at the time, and that's it. And I'll play for Cass at the time, and I said, "Yeah, why not? When is it?" And he says, "Well, I'll be in London next week. I'm flying over. You're going to play my henchman in the film, and I think you've got lines as well." So he just went from there. Really, I went down. I did the role. I enjoyed it, and it's been a long slog. It's been a long road to get to me where I am right now. With the film coming out, I've just, funnily enough, I've just landed a film role called The Chosen, it'll be my biggest role. I play a detective from Ireland, and it's a supernatural thriller. And funnily,
we like those.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I reached out to Mickey, and I offered him a role, to play the bishop.
You offered him a role.
Wow.
Yeah, think about this.
Think about that sentence, Keith.
Yes.
Think about that, fella.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
10 years ago, I got £300 for a day's work.
Yeah.
10 years ahead, I offered him $100,000 for one day's work.
It's about right, isn't it? Be about at least that. No, it would be at least $100,000 for a day's work. As somebody of that caliber. Absolutely.
So yeah.
Now, there's more. What's that? Guess you could rename the show "Weather Around the World." Yes, the reason I'm putting up all the things is because we have a global audience. So we've got incredible warmth in Spain with Chrissy Richards. We've got snow with Asa Don Brown in the northeastern United States. County Durham is sunny, apparently. It's lovely because we're all a gang. And in New York, Manhattan, Elizabeth Green, it's apparently bright, but it's also very early in the morning. And here it's rubbish, as per usual. Now, there's another side to you. You're a great mate of Stephen Smith, are you not? He's your chum.
Yeah. I know Stephen, great guy.
He's a very nice man. Funny enough, apart from being a friend, I literally was walking to my out of the tube on the platform of my tube station. I just heard, "That's right, just walk past me and don't say hello." It was Stephen. We realised we have the same. I didn't realise he lived around the corner to me. That's bizarre, isn't it? And then now we're going up to Fife in Scotland. Tell us more about the sort of the mental health aspect of your stuff, because your film work's fascinating.
I have to say, before you go, I'm very jealous because it's always been my dream to be in movies like that, and I'm in the best way. I'm a little bit jealous, Keith.
Well, I'm not jealous.
I hope you get to see the film. We've just done the deal for it to release in America, so it's going to be renamed The Punished, which is Imperative, where I play a detective who's.
What's it called?
It's called Imperative. We had the
Imperative.
Okay.
Yeah.
I played Detective Jack Sullivan. He's hunting down a serial killer.
Right.
Serial, a bit like a vigilante, while trying to fight his own demons with addiction and alcoholism and mental health.
Right. Okay.
Now, a lot of movies touch on this nowadays. I mean, I'm drawn to thinking about Joker, which I must admit I haven't seen, but I know about. But it's really
never
showing
saw
this
it. Oh my
incredibly
God!
Broken personality.
Fantastic.
You know, he's this character, but almost wrestling more with himself than he is with anything in the world. And there's a lot of that in movies nowadays, isn't there? Particularly the Marvel movies. There's quite a lot of that in there.
They're shite. The Marvel films. They're absolutely diabolical.
I make no opinion either way. I'm just saying there's a lot of that in there.
They're just terrible.
You're
terrible.
You're completely right.
Thank you.
It's gritty Northern Yorkshire based film, and it's my first lead in a film since I did the film 10 years ago. I believe in persistence and never giving up, and
precisely.
I think through the 10 years I've not just grown as an actor, but I've grown as a human being. I've suffered with mental health. I've suffered with depression. When I retired from sport, many sportsmen really mess up, and I was in a bad place at a time, because at the end of the day, like I'm a big, strong man, and sometimes it's hard for men to open up about mental health.
Massively.
Hence the reason why, I signed my book deal to write my book, and I wanted to be able to inspire people, because life it's not easy, man. It's tough. Every single day is a challenge. For me, I jump in ice baths every morning, and I've got to training. I've got to be physically moving, because if I'm not, I just go boom. So
why do you jump in an ice? I have no idea.
Wim Hof method, I believe.
Not
Like it.
Not quite an ice bath, but it's a cold. But it does.
Bloody good for you, apparently. I've seen the science on it.
I have a coffee.
It really is remarkably good for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, after you, Neil. After you. Let me know how it goes.
No, I've just said that. That's all.
I want to unpack some of this, Keith, because there's a lot of issues here, which is why I really wanted you on the show when Stephen suggested it. And although we're fascinated by your film career, it's this. I've done some work with the great Luther Blissett, and one of the things we've been pushing for on Men's Radio, but we keep getting pushed back, I'll be quite honest with you. So the lack of help is pretty depressing, is that, as you've just said, many professional sports people, when they retire, because it's an age critical thing, you can't play after a certain point, they get very depressed because their whole purpose in life has gone. And as Luther Blissett said perfectly, he said, I'd get out of bed, go to try and tie up my boots, and of course, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. And it's a very big deal. what were how did it manifest? Because I just want to deal with that first, because it's a huge issue. How did that manifest itself, Keith, with you?
Well, obviously, I retired from sport. I mean, I got my good friend, you might know him, he's a boxer, Joe Calzaghe, right? Joe said to me, he said, look, Keith, you know, if you retire, you're a long time retired. And he was kind of hinting that, you know, obviously, Joe had gone through his struggles when he retired, and you don't really know until you've actually done, until he said goodbye to the game. All I've ever is rugby league from being a young man. I've never worked a 9-to-5 job. I turned professional at 17. I retired at 31. I went through a massive, big court case against my old club, Huddersfield Giants. You know, I won the case, but it's not what I wanted. I just felt like the club who I've been there for 7 years literally betrayed me. My agent betrayed me, lied to me. They were trying to get me.
Just to point out from legal standpoint, if you don't mind, because we are well, they're not here to discuss it, and they're not here to answer what you're saying. So I'm just making that point. All right. So
I'm being honest with you.
Well, be that as it may, as I'm saying, from a legal standpoint, they're not here to discuss it. So anyway, we'll move on from that.
I won the case, and I won quite a bit of money, quite a lot of money. And then, you know, I decided to hang my boots up. I did the film with Mickey Rourke. And decision that I wanted to go into the acting. But it's like anything. If you want to be good at something, you have to go all in. And at that time, I wasn't all in. I was very much like it was party time for me. You know, retired, single man. I was missing my kids. You know, I was depressed because I wasn't seeing my kids. You know, to two different mums, and it was tough. You know, it was really like you put yourself in an hole. You know, just going out and drinking and partying, and well, you shouldn't be really round, and this is what happens. You know, I believe that, you know, men don't know how to self-regulate. Most people don't know how to self-regulate. So generally, people self-regulate by drinking alcohol, taking drugs, or you know, self-destructive behavior, harming yourself. And I went down this slippery slope for about 2 years. Were just like a blur. It was like a blur, and you know, thank God I came out of it. But you know what? You know, I lost houses, and you know, nearly became bankrupt, and that's how you learn in life. You know.
Do you literally not remember
it? Honestly, it's just like for 2 years of my life when I retired, it was just like a complete blur. It was like I tell you what happens is when sportsmen retire, it's like your routine goes out the window. And
yes.
This is what I've had to.
You have no structure, do you, Keith? There's no structure at all.
Correct.
It's really understandable because, and I've done it to a degree with my job. My whole, if you like, identity is so tied up in what I do. And that's not an entirely bad thing at times for a part of your life. But I found, so I can understand it. Suddenly it's like, who am I? And then, of course, we all go to the go-tos, like you say, the drinking, or, you know, pick your favorite, whatever it is, because it's so easily done and it's so common. But it's clear that you've turned it round, or certainly well in the process of it. What was the turning point for you where you thought there's got to be a better way than this? I'm not happy and I need to do something.
Yeah, I was in this constant battle, this constant fight, because like I knew that, you know, my future, my life was, I have a much bigger purpose. I believe in God, and I believe that, you know, it's got me out of a few I've dodged a few bullets throughout my life, you know, from being a young kid. I was a youth offender, you know. I was arrested 60 times, and
how many?
About 60.
60?
I grew up. I went to court for over 45 times as a young man, and so pretty
for
poor.
what? For what?
But for lots of things, misdemeanors, burglary, a lot of naughty stuff. But you know what? I was a young kid. I was 11, from 10 to 14 years of age. That all happened. I grew up in an estate called Dewsbury Moor, and where I came from, I wasn't supposed to make it anything. So, you know, I had the gift to play rugby. I knew that way out, and eventually I just knew in my mind that I would turn it all around and turn a negative into a positive, and that's what I've done. And now I inspire all these kids. Yeah, I've gone on to have
massively.
Not only that, it's like, you know, I wanted to make my mum proud because my mum's a single. She brought me up on her own, and you know, I was brought up by women, and you know, one of my driving forces in life is to make her proud and to show her that not all men are like her exes, you know. And you know, you picked a good man, mum, but you gave birth to a legend. I have a joke about that, but look, it takes the whole system was against me as a kid. You know, I was kicked out of most of my schools. I had ADHD. I got diagnosed with ADHD at 7, 8 years old. I was in and out of trouble. But the one thing is, I wasn't a bad kid. I went for a naughty phase, but I wasn't scared. I was a tough kid. Like, I was a rough and tough kid. I used to protect my mates. Like, I'd go into bars and stuff, and, you know, if someone would, you know, take advantage, or I'd go sort it out, basically.
Keith, were you challenging some of this, I'm going to say aggression, or attitude on the rugby pitch?
Absolutely. You know, the one thing is I missed about rugby league was physicality. So I'm a very physical person, not aggressive. I need to be in the gym all the time. I need to be out walking. I need to be working out. And one of the things
clearly key for your mental well-being. Like you touched on that earlier, that the continuing of being physical is really necessary for your mental health.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think routine is imperative. Structure, discipline. You know, I don't believe there's no success without discipline. You've got to put the work in, and it's same with, like, you know, mind, body, and spirit. I think for me, even to step on a film set, I need to be obsessed with the script. I need to go over the script and read the script 100 times and go over my lines over and over. Repetition. I think playing rugby league was because I was a prop. I wasn't the biggest props, but I was game. I was tough. I had no fear, and that physicality was a release for me. So I had a lot of anger in me from being a young man, from stuff when I was young. But being a young man and having all the system against you and the world telling you no, just give me that drive to make it into a yes. I wanted to succeed and prove me right and prove people wrong. So.
Yeah,
you know,
and did you meet Stephen Smith in the scrum? Was he the hooker?
No, I didn't know Stephen was a rugby player, but
oh my goodness, is he? No, that was a joke. I'm just so curious because you and Stephen are the absolute polar opposites in every way you could possibly imagine. In every way, it's extraordinary. That was just a joke. Yeah. It's so interesting because you have to be physical and I have to be creative. If you're not physical, you start to get problems. We just put it under the umbrella, Keith, of problems. Okay, is that fair enough?
Yeah.
And if I'm not being creative and writing, I get problems. I have to do that. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah,
you know what you're saying, and Stephen's right, and he'll get the gag that I just Stephen Smith on the rugby field, unless he was doing the hair for everybody. It is inspiring listening to this because when you had, let's just call it your blip, and you were arrested or in court 45 times, arrested 60 times, that could have been it. That could have been Keith Mason written off.
Yeah.
But if we draw anything from this, and there's so much to unpack, if we draw anything from this conversation, it's that it's never too late. It's never too late. You can, if you want to, turn your life around. That's the thing.
You know what? Like, if I'd listened to everybody's narrative about me for my future, my life, if I listened to that narrative, I'd be in jail or dead.
You'd be in prison, presumably.
So I was gifted with a belief in myself.
Where did that come from? Because that in itself is fascinating.
Good question.
This is the thing when you all you hear as a kid is that, you know, you're not good enough and you know, constantly in trouble and you're not supposed to make it. You're not going to get out of this situation you're in.
Yeah.
Everything was negative. And like I said, in my mind and in my heart, I feel like God had given me a gift, because my purpose in life is not just to be a successful sportsman or an actor. My purpose in life is to help and inspire people. That's the greatest thing I've got. It's to inspire people. And hence the reason why I brought my own clothing line out, to help children with brain injuries. The best thing about having a platform for me now and being a person who I am and rising as an actor, because like I said, I'm an unknown actor. Well, not unknown, but I'm on the rise. But in 3 or 4 years' time, with the charity that I support, to feed the Keith Foundation and the Keith Mason clothing line, we want to build the second only hospital in the UK for children with brain injuries.
Wow.
Being a type of guy that wants to give back, but I think the higher I go as an actor, as an entrepreneur, the better it is for me to be. I truly believe that we stop helping ourselves when we stop helping.
Here's a question.
I've got a really good question for you.
It's coming in from Manhattan. You read it, Neil.
Did some tiny part of Keith feel invincible? Says Elizabeth Green.
At what point?
I've got a really. Go on, I'll let you answer that. I've got a question for you.
Sorry. Oh. So basically, yeah, like I said, as a kid, I mainly my driving force was to make my mum proud. We've had, we're not the most functional family, but who is, and there's 5 of us, and we've all gone through our struggles and adversities and stuff. But you know what it is? Sometimes a certain person's gifted, and he's the one that can go through and make a name for himself, but also then share my story. Hence the reason why I signed my book deal to sign Against All Odds. Against All Odds, which my book is called.
I'm sorry, say that again. What's it called?
Against All Odds.
Against All Odds. Okay.
I'll stick that on the screen. Question I wanted to ask you was, because there must be either listening live or watching back to this video at some point, or even people who doesn't even know this conversation has ever happened, but there must be millions of people stuck in that narrative. You're not good enough. The world's a shitty place. It's going to be difficult. You'll never amount to much. Yada, yada, yada. We've all heard that to some degree. What advice would you give to those people that are experiencing that now and think there must be a better way, but they're not sure what it is? Because you've really walked the walk, and you talk the talk, and you've walked the walk. So what advice would you give them?
Ooh.
Well, first of all, I would say that people use failure as a bad word, and it's not. It's part of life. We're all here to mess up and become better. That's how we become better. And I think
there's no failure, only feedback, so they say.
Yeah, and just lessons, and I believe that perseverance wins the race. So if you are struggling, it's important to talk. Number 2, it's important to have good people around you, good associates. Generally, when people find themselves in a rut or they're depressed, it's generally the environment they're in. It's the people that are around. And me, to be honest with you, I'm a bit of a lone ranger. I have my advisor, my agent. I have, I have friends, not a lot of close friends, and I don't believe you need that. I just think you need to just pretty much work in yourself, persevere. Look, it's took me 10 years to get a lead role in a small budget film, which is marketed to do really well. And it took me 10 years. So for 5 years, I was jumping on buses to London for a 10-minute audition, me knowing that I won't get it. I just knew I won't get it, but I wanted to do the role work. I wanted to go down.
Let's just look at that mindset for a second, because that can be applied to so many things. Why did you know you're coming down to London?
Yeah.
It's a long journey. You know it's going to be a 10-minute in and out audition.
Yeah.
Why did you know you weren't going to get it?
Do you know what it is? I wanted to do the road work. I wanted to do it. I wanted to build a narrative. I wanted to have a story behind it. I'm willing. The difference between me and 99% of people is that I'm willing to go for the grind. I'm willing to be rejected, because the thing is, when I was a young kid, that's what I ever heard. So for me, it was normal. But do you know what it is? It's a part of growth, and I'll keep going until I get to where I need to get to. And that's the mindset. I don't,
You see, Keith, what fascinates me, and what differentiates you from so many people is that a huge swathe of the population think A, they deserve it for no particular reason, just that their name's Fred Smith or Wilma Jones or whatever, and B, they're not willing. That old-fashioned idea of putting the work and the effort in.
Yeah.
You know, when I was in music management, the worst decision I ever made, I've never met such lazy people in my life.
Yeah.
Never in my life have met such lazy, untalented, self-obsessed egomaniacs, not willing to put the work in.
Yeah.
Not willing to put the effort in, and then blaming everybody else when it doesn't work. You know?
Yeah.
So your attitude is the right attitude.
It's a really empowered
And
attitude.
yes, it's
as well.
old-fashioned, but you've got to get off your ass, get your hands dirty, and do the damn work. That's what it takes.
Absolutely.
There isn't a shortcut.
Yeah, when people say about, you know, like success and, you know, how do you get from A to B? Well, there's no secret to it. It's just plain old hard work and repetition and consistency. There's two things I live by, right? It's consistency and discipline. Without discipline, there's no success, and consistency is doing it and doing it well all the time, over and over and over. And I think what happens is people get in the rat race of life, and I never wanted to go with the grain. I wanted to go against the grain. I wanted to do what I did. But the thing is, what you got to understand is when you go chase after your dreams, it could take 10, 15, 20 years. It's not going to be easy. And the thing as you're going up, as your trajectory is going up slowly, you're gonna come up against resistance, and which I have done for the last 12 months. It's been incredibly tough for me.
Is that what kind of resistance is that? Why 12 months?
Can't say too much right now.
All right. Okay.
There's a legal case going on. Well, I wish I could, but hopefully I can.
No. If it's something that's legal, please don't go into it, because it's not our business. And if it's an ongoing case, we can't talk about it, even here on Men's Radio Station. I won't do that.
Yep.
So you're clearly very I mean, looking at you, from what I can see, you look in like crazy good shape. So clearly that, because you see some of these, let's say, soccer players, football players, and you think, jeez, what the hell's happened to them? You know, they've gone from looking fabulous to looking a wreck, and it looks like in about 2 months. Obviously, it's not. But you clearly are very disciplined physically as well.
I think, you know, mind, body, and spirit's important. And I think for me, to go where I want to go in the entertainment business, I do need to be in shape. But, you know, I rack up 10, 15 miles a day anyway, whether I'm running, walking.
15?
Yeah, some days, yeah. I'm not.
Where the hell are you going?
Well, you
15?
get your steps in, don't you? Blimey.
I just feel, you know, for me to go, the goals I've set for myself in my mind, I need to do things that people don't do. So, you know, perseverance does win the race. And I feel like the last 12 months has been a very big challenge for me mentally.
Elizabeth, I'm sorry. Hang on a minute. I got to tell you, Elizabeth, you've been in America too long. That is just, that for me, and I know you well enough through this show, that to me is just a hallmark card that someone in California has written. I just do not believe that.
I think it was Nelson Mandela, wasn't it, said that?
Our deepest fear is we are powerful beyond measure. I just
or
I
Marianne
don't believe that.
Williamson.
I don't believe that at all.
You're not?
Absolutely don't think. No, not in the least. Not for 1 second do I believe that.
You'd
I
be
think the
surprised how
first
many
part of
people
the
do.
first part of the sentence is correct.
Which fear is that we are beyond measure.
I'll
I think
read
I
it
think
out,
it makes
because
a
if you're
difference,
listening
that
on
one, right?
Deluxe, if you're listening on Deluxe Radio, you won't be able to see this. And hi to everybody on Deluxe Radio, all down the south coast of England, all 70,000 of you. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Well, I think it is actually. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Nope. I don't care who wrote Elizabeth. I don't care. I don't even know who that is.
I don't think she wrote it, Elizabeth. I think it was adopted by her.
I don't know who that
I think
is,
it was someone like
Marianne
Mandela that said it first, I think.
Well, be that as it may, I don't believe in it. That's my view. You can disagree.
one of my favourite quotes is something I live by, and I've learned through experiences. Our struggles develop our strengths, and the storms in life make us stronger. So whenever you're going through a tough period in your life, it's who you become when you hang in there. It's who you become when you come through the other side. And life is not easy, you know.
No, life is not easy.
I think in school and stuff, man, you know, these kids come out of school who are very smart and very clever, but when life hits them, they can't deal with it. And it's like me.
Well, there's no lessons how to do that, is there?
What is not taught in schools that you think should be on the curriculum in every school, given what you know now, Keith?
Listen, I'll tell you something. I mean, I never finished school. I was kicked out of every school I went to, and I'll be probably honest with you. Probably 99% of the people I went to school, I've probably gone on and done more than they have, just with pure drive and determination. But most kids now, if you throw rejection or failure at them, they give in. You cannot give in, and this is what happens with this is society now. I mean, I was glad I was born in the 80s. You know, you go on the street, you have a fight, you have a scrap. There's no knives, there's no guns. You know, it's a straight one-on-one. And now you're hearing all these horror stories about all these kids getting stabbed up and stuff. It's just a shame.
Well, they're doing it because it's let's just be honest about it. One, you've got a rubbish mayor in London. Two, it's all drug related because it's all gangs. It's gangs and territories, and that's what it is. And it is kids because they're running these tuppenny halfpenny horrible drug gangs, and they should crack down on it, but they won't. But we'll leave that for another time. We all know why they won't, but they won't because they're scared. Yeah, but you're right. And also, Keith, if you had a disagreement with somebody and maybe duked it out with them, chances are, back in the day, you would get up from the floor, dust yourself down, probably shake hands. Not always, but sometimes shake hands. You know, let's agree to disagree. Let's go and get a drink. And that's what you might do. Or, okay, it's over. But you didn't have a million of people who loved Keith Mason or didn't like him on social media sticking their oar in and making a mountain out of what was probably a tiny molehill.
Yeah. I think you know, obviously back in the day, I think everything I went through as a young kid, you know, being locked up, you know, being kicked out of schools, being in homes, I think all that made me into the man I am. I won't be who I am. You know, and the thing is, like, you know, I love my son. Like, my son plays for Wigan, Lucas, right? He's 17, by the way. He's bigger than me. And
Blimey.
He's got a very bright future. Warriors. But I love being a father, and my dad was he wasn't really in my life. He came into my life really when I was doing well, when I started to do well. But through the period where I truly believe that young men need a mentor or a father figure.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
A woman can give you love. My mum gave me love, but as soon as I got out that door and were out in the open on the streets, you know, it's a different ball game. There's no discipline, and that's what I didn't have. I didn't have that father figure because I was a kid who had ADHD. I had all this energy, you know. I was like non-stop, and that's probably what got me into a lot of trouble. And plus, I was a bit of a follower because a lot of my friends were older than me, right?
Right.
As I've grown older, you know, I've took a lot of the qualities of my rugby league career into what I do now in business. And I don't know if you know, but I created the first ever rugby league comic called Rugby Blood. So
no, didn't know.
Myself, and you know, we've got a clothing line, Rugby Blood clothing line. So the comic book.
Well, Neil and I are always happy to, you know, just see if the clothing's any good. If we, you know. That
was shameless, Russ. That was absolutely shameless.
Sorry, man. 20 years at Capital Radio when we got absolutely everything sent to us. Thank you. I think so.
I didn't.
Oh dear, what a shame. Anyway, there we are. Did you not?
No.
Got everything.
It was like if I got a fax at 3 a.m. on the fax machine.
Obviously, I'll listen to the show.
Don't start that.
Don't start that. Tell me something, Keith.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to walk very gingerly because you've just raised a really this is a great conversation. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Yeah,
And thank
brilliant.
you, Stevens. Thank you, Stephen Smith, for the introduction. Much appreciated. I'm going to ask you a very cheeky question. Will you come onto my podcast, Keith Mason?
Yeah, of course.
It's separate to this. It's a completely separate thing that I do with a chap called Mark Collin. We haven't launched it yet. It's called Walk the Talk, The Hero's Journey. And if anybody fit the perfect title for that, it's you, Keith Mason. Now, all right, so I'll be in touch. Now, Keith, you touched on something that we're not allowed to discuss. And I'm going to be very, very careful how I do this. One of the things that you've said that is absolutely true that we're not allowed to talk about is that children, particularly boys, who grow up without a father figure, without a father, are much more likely to get into trouble because they have no male role model to follow. They don't know. We're not allowed to say that anymore. For obvious reasons. And it's certainly a UK thing, but I'm going to say also, forgive me, it's very much a London thing as well. But you're not allowed to say that because of all sorts of accusations and fingers that get pointed at you. But you've just said it, and you're not from London, you're from the north, and you have personal experience of that. I don't know why people just won't look at the reality of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm a West Yorkshire lad. I'm from Dewsbury. I'm proud of my roots.
Yeah. Why not?
From originally. And yeah, listen, all my mates, most of my friends, but they had no dads. So we found love. We found the respect and love and the brotherhood with each other.
With each other, yes. This is why the gangs are so... Thank you. Thank you. This is why the gangs are so strong. Of course they are.
You know what? It's like I pulled away from that life. I could see where my life was going. It was going down miserable. My friend got sent. The last time I went to court, my friend got a 2-year sentence. This is with the kid who did all the misdemeanors with, right? When I came to court that day, I realized that's it. I am done. I've just turned 50 age. I had this like epiphany, whether it was from God or whatever. It was saying, this is your last chance. You want to be somebody, you're going to have to sacrifice everything. You're going to stop hanging out with your mates, stop smoking weed. And that's what I did. The very next day, I put my trainers on, I put my socks on, my shirt and my shorts, and I ran. And I used to train on even Christmas Day as a young kid, 2.5 hours of training in the cemetery. And I'd run. And that's the mindset I had. The reason why I trained on Christmas Day, because I knew nobody else was doing it. So it made me feel like I had that advantage. And, I went back to rugby. I went to Dewsbury Moor and, I got picked for Yorkshire, England schoolboys that same year. And then I came back and then I got rejected by 3 clubs. Castleford, Leeds, Bradford, all rejected me. Even Dean Bell from Leeds Rhinos, turned around and said, I don't think I'm going to be a Super League player. That crushed me. I was going to quit, but where else were I going to go? Back to a life of crime. Because I believe that people change through 2 emotions in life, either through pain or desperation. And I was fucking desperate, man. I was desperate to get away from the life I was living. And that's what it takes for you to be great, to reach heights of greatness. You have to go through pain. And mine was desperateness not to go back to that life. So hence the reason why I had a 14-year career and I played at the highest level in Australia and England is because every time I trained, I'd be very well known for being super fit.
Yep.
Because I was running away from the past. I was running away. I didn't want to go back to that place. And it propelled me.
Did you ever meet any of the people who rejected you and you looked at them and went, yeah, and?
Yeah.
Did you ever do that?
I was at Leeds Rhinos, right? Castleford and Bradford didn't want to sign me, okay? Everybody in that England team, that England schoolboys team, had to sign professional. And I thought, is it going to happen for me? I've been through a young kid and now I'm trying to be a good citizen. Now I'm trying to live a good life. It's not happening for me. But in my mind, it's like, just keep going. And I was 16, I'd been rejected 3 times. So the guy came up to me, are you ever going to play Super League? This was after I used to get 16 to 20 buses a week to Leeds, right? No money, My mum helped me out. She gave me a bus fare. She was supporting me, but I knew this was my last chance. So he said to me, turned around and said, "Look, you're never going to play Super League." If I'd have listened to them, I'd have probably I'll be the bum. And this is what I'm saying about never listen to somebody else's narrative for your life is not your life.
Oh, I know. We hear so many stories about this. I think Einstein was told he was thick at school. I think Paul McCartney was told Elvis was told he was talentless and should go back to driving a truck. I think Paul McCartney was told the same. We could go on and on and on and on and on. I was told I didn't have the personality to become a DJ. And but you're right. Why would you accept, this is such a good point. I'm going to put it on the screen. Why would you accept someone else's narrative for your life? How would they know? How would they know what your potential is?
Well, the only way they know,
I
I guess it's a mindset. There's two sides to this particular coin. Keith did the right thing. He totally believed in himself. And he said, sod you. I don't care what you say. I'm going to do this. But if you surround yourself with, in parentheses, experts, and they go, this isn't any good. At what point do you stop listening to experts? Because then, there's a line between doing that and being a psychopath.
Yeah.
And thinking, well, they don't know what they're talking about. No, you're never going to be a Formula One driver. Why? Because you can't drive properly. There's a point at which you have to listen to advice, I think.
And this is to a point. Some people give advice. Some advice is well-meaning.
Yeah.
I think a lot of parents do it. Don't need to
hang on. It's all going.
So don't make too much of it because you might be disappointed. That was like some people are just jealous and they don't want you to succeed so they can feel better about themselves. Some people are misinformed. They just simply don't know. There's a bit of discernment that has to come in here. But it comes back to having a good mentor and someone who is wise and does have your best interests at heart and gives you that safe space to ask the questions that you need to ask for you, right?
This I've had jealous and enviness and hatred all the way through my life, even up to now. Even like close people, family, friends, people you never think about it, right? But it's part of life. When you go after your dreams, you're gonna have the rough.
Keith,
and sometimes you have to put boundaries in where you didn't think you'd have to. I've had to do that.
Keith, forgive me for saying, but you're now in the entertainment business. And there is no business worse than jealousy and backstabbing and stepping on your face to get where they want. It's the worst. So you're probably well trained on the rugby pitch, especially being a prop in a scrum, to deal with that. But believe me, it ain't pretty.
Yeah. But you know what it is? I ain't come from a pretty place, man. I've come from hard knocks and adversity, yeah? So the thing is, I've seen life on the street. I've seen it. I've seen everything I needed to see before I even turned 16 years of age. So all this for me is it's like a sport. And I'm a good person, right? I lead. My intentions are pure. And I want to do, you know what? I don't want to be a big movie star. I want to be a working actor. I want to be able to help people. I want to be, I want to make my friends proud, make my mum proud. I don't want to be seen like, look at me, I'm this and I'm that. I'm not asked about all that. I've been there. I've been a sportsman before. I've had the attention as a professional athlete. But for me, it's making my kids proud. I'm doing it for those kids who nobody believes in, the kids who are outcasts, and that's what I am. And I'm a young kid who wasn't supposed to make it, and I am making it. And the next 5 years of my life is very important. The reason
I think it's really empowering. I think it's really empowering because you said you weren't supposed to make it. And I'll take those words at face value.
Isn't that a fascinating
you are showing the
phrase?
People that aren't supposed
to make it can.
But you know what?
They actually have the choice because ultimately it was a choice that you made. Oh, we're buffering again. And now that we have the power to make that choice, we can choose. That's the thing. So many people are in sort of victim mindset, if you like. But you're saying, no, I'm a cause. I'm not an effect. You're making the choice. And it's so key. We have the power of choice. And you've shown that people do have that choice.
Keith, can I just say the best Oscar acceptance speech I ever heard, which sums you up, Keith Mason, was from the great Tommy Lee Jones, who instead of standing up and thanking everyone he's ever stood next to in a bus queue and doing a whole load of woke crap, he just said, "Thank you for the work." Because that's what it is. Thank you for the work.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about life. I'm not interested in anything else. People like what we do. I just go, well, thank you for the work.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'm interested in.
Yeah.
The rest of it doesn't interest me at all. I agree with you. Just go out and do the job and be happy with that. If you're seeking fame, it's a one-way trip to nowhere.
Absolutely.
Nonsense. It's just nonsense.
Yeah.
You know?
It's,
Well, 20 years, when I was 20 years at Capital, it was the biggest radio show in Europe, right? The one we were on, 4 million listeners a day. People said, "Oh, how do you cope?" I said, "Cope with what? It's a job. It's a job. I enjoy the job and I enjoy the salary. That's it. I'm not interested in it. The rest of it's rubbish. I'm not interested in it. Never was. And that's the only way you stay stable and the only way that you don't get seduced by rubbish.
I mean, becoming well known can be a happy side effect of what you do, but I wouldn't pursue it as a goal in and of itself.
It's just nonsense. Nonsense. Emma Webb, let's just read this. Being written off by society is, oh, well, Emma's speaking from the heart here. Just leave it at that, all right? Being written off by society isn't nice. I know. The fight forward is a battle, takes a long time, but the rewards are worth it. It's all possible. Yeah, Ems, it is.
I think it's just small victories as well, Emma.
Totally.
Who wrote the book? What's his name? Stephen something. That'll come to me in a minute. 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Stephen somebody.
Smith.
No. And it's the little victories. Have a small daily victory.
Yeah, of course it is.
Because it's progress. It's not perfection. No one arrives at a goal Shazam. It's a series of steps to take you there. So why not enjoy the steps along the way?
There's a saying, never ever underestimate the small win.
Yeah.
You know, like jumping in a bath in the morning, breath work, getting out in the sun, getting some vitamin D, they all lead to a happier life. Obviously, you've got to set a goal in your mind of what you want to be or where you want to go. You can't just, flow through life with no aim, no purpose. We all need purpose, even if it's written down, or it's in here, or it's in here. We all need that purpose in life. Because
I agree. I agree. And for me, I was having this conversation yesterday. Some days I feel super purposeful and I stride through and my body language is different. And some days I'm like,
you're only human, Neil.
And I have good days and bad days.
But you're only human.
And the good days, thank God, outweigh the bad days. But it's also allowed, I think there's almost has to be this allowance to be human as well. And we live in a very punitive society.
So who's beating who up now? Neil, who's beating who up now? Neil Long is beating up Neil Long.
No, I wasn't.
No. But what I'm saying is you could if you allowed it.
I could, but I'm learning not to allow it. I'm learning not to listen to that.
That's my point. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm learning to not listen to that inner troll that's never got anything good to say.
That's my point. That's
the inner critic, and it can go suck because it's never ever been helpful to you. Oh, it might pretend it is, but it really isn't. Stephen Covey, by the way, thank you for that. Stephen Covey wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Successful.
So, right now, Keith, as we run up to the end of the show, and what a show it's been by Jiminy Cricket.
Really inspiring conversation, Keith.
Thanks again, Stephen Smith, for the brilliant introduction. I'm most grateful. Coffee on me next time. Now, Keith, run through all the things that you're doing. Give it a shameless plug. Clothing line onwards. Go on, off you go.
Yeah, give us the web addresses. We'll stick it on screen.
Okay. So the clothing line is Keith Mason's signature line. It's a non-profit. All the proceeds will go to Fido Rakib Foundation. We're trying to raise £25 million to build the second only hospital in the UK for children with brain injuries. It's something very close to me. So I will send you the links for the clothing line. This is one of the t-shirts. You can see the little logo there. You can get tracksuit.
Got a website I can stick on screen.
Yeah, the website's there, mate. I will send it all through to you guys. If you just give me, shall I send it to Stephen? Or...
No, send it straight to me. It's fine.
Okay.
Send it to me and Neil.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so obviously I've got Imperative. My movie's coming out. It'll be called The Punished in America. Hopefully it'll be out in the whole world by the summer. It'll be on Amazon, Netflix.
Oh, really? Oh, we can sit there going, we know him.
Yeah.
Know him.
So I
That's how
played.
sad. That's how sad we are. We go, hey, everybody, we.
Jack Sullivan, he's hunting down a serial killer while trying to fight his own demons. The second film I've just been cast in was my biggest role is The Chosen. I play an Irish detective from Belfast who's a supernatural thriller. He moves to Dublin, comes back to Belfast in his late 30s to hunt down a child killer. It's a supernatural thriller. Mickey Rourke is going to be involved. Sean O'Neill is the writer. He's a writer turned screenwriter. He gave me a call and just said, look, you're the guy to play Kevin O'Brien. So hopefully I'll be going over to Canada in August for 3 months, and then we come back to Ireland. So that's my big...
Oh, enjoy. Canada is a wonderful country. You'll have a great time there. Done it before. Brilliant.
What else am I doing, guys? I've got my
Right, just been. I'm just going to interrupt. You've just been nominated for an award, Mr. Mann. Dave Sleet has said, "Will somebody please nominate Keith for an APA Ethical and Psychological Award?" And from the Northeastern United States, Azadon Brown, who's very senior in the psychotherapeutic community, has said, "Done. You have just been nominated, my friend."
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. That's how we work. That's how we work on the Daily Show.
Good luck with everything, Keith. It's been lovely to meet you.
It's been great. It's been great. And I will be in touch because you're far too good to let go. That's all I've got to say. Keith, bravo. What a story. What an inspiration. What a way to start the week, fella.
Yeah, brilliant. All the best, Keith.
Good luck with everything. Bye-bye. Bye.
Take care, fella. Takeaways from the show?
I tell you what. When Keith said on Christmas Day he trained in the cemetery, and the first thing I thought was, well, I might as well train in the cemetery myself. It'll save time at my age. It's less rather go.
That's not the attitude. Here you go.
That is my attitude.
Stick that up your fundament. Perseverance wins the race. These are the takeaways for today. This one's so important. Have the right people around you. Our environment does make a difference. And this one, my favourite of the show, never accept someone else's narrative for your life, ever.
The point I was trying to make with that, Neil Long, the point I was trying to make was this, and it's I don't know if it was too subtle or it's just too difficult. We've only got 2 minutes anyway. Is 20. That you look at experts, we look, doctors. There's no point going to the doctor. You got a broken leg. He says, you've got a broken leg. You go, well, I don't think so. That's your narrative. I don't think I've got a broken leg. Of course you have. All right. That's an obvious example. Yeah. Silly, but obvious. If you think you're a great, pick any subject you like, and you go to someone who's known in that area and they're negative about it, should you go, well, they're successful. They know I'm the one who's wrong and they're right. Or should you say, screw you, I'm going to go ahead anyway? Because there comes a point where it's bonkers.
Well, yeah, and there's, as I said, there's discernment. They could be saying it because they don't want you to be disappointed. That's a fairly benign intention, or they could be jealous of you, or they just might not know. And perhaps discernment is what comes with experience. That's why it's good to have a great mentor who will give you that safe space and no failure, only feedback, as honest as possible. But also bear in mind that pretty much all skills are learnable. Before we go, can I just might have your permission to plug something very quickly?
You've got a minute. Knock your socks off, fella. Off you go.
I'm gonna film it as well and send it to her because she did so well. If you'd like to donate some money to the Little Princess Trust, they're still taking the donations. It's tinyurl.com/mhaircut. It's raised £700, and this gives hair to people that have lost it through alopecia or cancer.
Oh, bless.
Yeah. And my friend Emily did an absolutely amazing online fundraiser yesterday, so I think she deserves a plug on MRS.
Well,
so there we go. tinyurl.com/mhaircut. If you got a couple of pennies to spare, that'd be absolutely lovely. I'll see you Wednesday, dude.
You will see me Wednesday. And the great Jeff Ross was talking about alopecia, and the great Jeff Ross was talking about that slap and how it spoilt the narrative about alopecia. If you can see it, it's on Howie Mandel Does Stuff, one of my favorite shows. Howie Mandel Does Stuff. Look up Jeff. Oh, he's terrific. Neil and I will be back on Wednesday, God willing,
with our legal eagle.
Oh yeah, Haji Suvari.
Who's
great
brilliant.
Subject this week. Great. Tune in to find out. Bye, gang. Stay safe.
Wednesday.